Okay. All right. So today, good afternoon. This is Attorney Claudine Gasana with the Law Office of Claudine Gasana, PRC. I want to talk today about the Fiance Visa. No, it's not a 90-day Fiance Visa show, reality show. It's actually a US visa, which has the requirements attached to it and expectations after someone receives the visa. So as usual, I like to share the screen so that we can, excuse me, just follow with me. Let me go here. Let's see. Right. So you can go ahead and follow with me as I speak. Let me go ahead, and I hope you guys have had a nice week. We had the short week somehow, on Monday it was a holiday. So now we're on Friday. Yeah. All right. So again, this is Claudine Umhire Gasana. I'm an immigration attorney here in Houston, Texas. I represent people in immigration law, laws of the US throughout the country, even internationally. Thank you for following along. So let's talk about the Fiance Visa. But before we go to the Fiance Visa, I have a few updates today to give to you. One of the updates I have is regarding TPS for Venezuelans. So those people who are from Venezuela who are under TPS, the temporary protected status. So the program is being renewed. So the renewal or the registration period is actually not long. I believe it began yesterday or today and ends in October. And that's only for people who already have TPS. There's no initial or late, well, there could be late filing, but there's not, like the new people who are coming from Venezuela are not eligible for this renewal of the TPS program. It's only for those who already applied or who already qualified in the beginning, who have been present since the initial TPS was announced. Another news update I wanted to provide to you before we dig into the Fiance visa process is that the forms I-765, which is the employment authorization document application, and the asylum application forms are being revised. So the new versions will come, and I believe they will begin as of November. So, just whenever you go to file a new asylum case or a new employment authorization document, know that the new form, the new versions will be required beginning November. I don't remember the dates, but when you open the forms, always look at the form edition and then to see which edition is available, and it's will be accepted, because at some point the old versions will no longer be accepted. And the reasons for renewing or changing those forms go with the new rule that also is going into effect regarding the new asylum applications of people who are called, who are in expedited removal process, like meaning people who are caught at the border, who apply for asylum at the border, and they are classified as arriving aliens. So there will be a new process for them. Instead of be put into removal proceedings, there will be, after the credible fear interview is determined or is established or is granted, then they'll be scheduled to speak to an asylum officer or to plead their case with an asylum officer instead of going to courts, waiting to be in the immigration judges, hearings. So that's why the forms are being changed. The new process is coming as we learn more about that process, because it's very important to know, because it's going to be very expedited and streamlined. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be streamlined, but it's going to be expedited. So we want to make sure the rights of those asylum applicants are respected. As we receive more news, I will give a presentation on the matter. So now let's dig into the Fiance visa process. Now, I'm sure you've heard that right now there's this reality TV show that's called 90 Day Fiance. It's very popular here in the US, and it has some even spin-offs like 90 Days Before the 90 Days, 90 Days After, Happily Ever After. So it has struck interest, and people watch it. I watch it. Me and my husband watched the 90 Day Fiance. It's interesting. Anyways, it didn't come out of the blue. Yes, there is a fiance visa here in the United States. So who gets to apply for a fiance visa? Who qualifies? So let's go. All right. So yeah, the fiance visa is set up like this. A US citizen, anyone who is a US citizen and falls in love with someone who is outside of the US, who is not a citizen, who's not who has nothing to do, who's outside of the US, is allowed to bring that person here in the US in a fiance visa or in fiance non-immigrant status. So it's not like an immigrant status, it's between a non-immigrant and immigrant. Because obviously you have intent to immigrate, but you are not really a non-immigrant visa, because it's only allowed to come to the US and marry the US citizen petitioner. So that's why the issue comes whenever people just get married or get a fiance visa for other purposes. We will talk about later what happens when someone brings you here and on a fiance visa, and you just you don't get married, you just you wanted to come to the US. What happens to you? Do you actually have can you apply for anything else if you default on your fiance visa requirements? We will talk about that, but first let's see who qualifies and what you need to show to be able to apply for the fiance visa. All right, so a US citizen, a United States citizen who wishes to bring a foreign fiance into the US to get married needs to petition for a fiance visa. So first there's a form, it's called I-129F, petition for alien fiance. So the US citizen has to petition before you can even be able to go and schedule an interview at the consulate. So the petition for alien fiance, you file it and it stays pending for between like 9 months and 12 months or even longer. And so, and after, so who's eligible? The US citizen, and then you have to show, okay, you have the income requirements. So the US citizen cannot just bring in someone that they will not be able to take care of. So they have to show that they meet the income requirements to be able to bring someone here in the US, and that someone or that fiance, soon later be a spouse, will not depend on the US government. So also they have to show both partners are free to marry. So both of them have to kind of provide a statement. Yes, how did you meet? When did you meet? Explain what is your relationship. The fiance who is abroad say, yes, this is my fiance and I'm free to marry and I entered in this relationship freely. It's not like in an arranged type of marriage or type of fiance relationship. And there's also a requirement that before you can petition for someone, or before someone who's a US citizen can petition for you, you have to have met in person. So, all those DMs and Instagram and Facebook relationships will not work. You have to physically meet in person within 2 years before your US citizen fiance petitions for you. And this is because, they didn't want those, they call the maid bride, I don't know how they call them. So, and there are exceptions to the rule, but the rule is you have to meet in person. So now with COVID, sometimes some people met during COVID and there were closure of the borders. There was some type, reasons why people will not be able to meet in person. So now that may fall into exception, but in general, before you marry somebody, before you engage someone, before you qualify for the fiance visa petition, couple has to meet. So, and since the United States acknowledges or accept or has accepted same-sex marriage, yes, the same-sex couples also, they have the right to a fiance visa. Is they have a right to marry, to get a US petition based on marriage. Okay, so what if a foreign fiance has children? So if your fiance, or if you say, okay, I have a US citizen's fiance, but I also have children that I've had, with someone else in the past, so, and I'm not willing to leave them to go to the US. Well, so the good news is unmarried children under the age of 21, they can accompany and travel with you as the fiance into the United States. They are issued a K2 visa. Obviously you have to show that you are the parent of those children. And, it doesn't matter if they were born in out of the wedlock, or they were adopted, or they're from it. Doesn't matter, as long as you show the relationship, these are your children, and you are the legal parent of those children. And so since the fiance visa also has a requirement of income, to show enough income, so that means then the US citizen has to show the income requirements, has to meet the income requirements or thresholds to be able to support, let's say if you have 2 children, 3 people. So that's something to keep in mind. So who's not eligible for a fiance visa? So some people ask me, I have a green card, can I file a fiance visa for my fiance? Unfortunately, lawful permanent resident or green card holders, they are not eligible to file for the fiance. They may be able to file for a spouse, but there's no benefit for a legal or a lawful permanent resident to file for fiance visa. Okay, so when a foreign fiance lives in the US, then there's no reason to do the fiance visa, because the fiance visa is here, so you can just get married and file for the petition. All right, so now, like I was saying before, let me move this on. The steps. So the step number 1 is for the US citizen to file a petition. So usually before you can bring someone in, before you can do anything, there has to be an underlying petition. And the petition is filed on form I-129F. And once it's, you have to show, like I said, the relationship, you have to show you are both free to marry, which means, okay, if you have been divorced, if you were married in the past, you have to show that you are divorced, because the US does not allow polygamy or bigamy. And you have to show that, yes, you are freely marrying each other. And you have to show, okay, document your relationship. How did you meet? When did you meet? Have you met in person? And then the US citizen petitioner has to also show the income requirement down the line. So once the I-129 petition is approved, then the foreign fiance files for the DS-160. So however, the way it works, so after the I-129 is approved, the USCIS, which is the Department of Homeland Security, sends the approval to the National Visa Center, and the National Visa Center communicate with the US consulate where you are. So if you are, say, in Rwanda, if you are in France, then they will communicate to your US embassy. And most US consulates, some US consulates do not allow you to file for the form DS-160 until you have received an email notification from the embassy telling you, okay, we have received your approval, the approval of a fiance petition on your behalf. Go ahead and apply for the fiance visa, and they will let you know the requirements you have to meet and the documents you have to provide. So at this stage of the Form DS-160, which is a non-immigrant visa petition, by the way, or non-immigrant visa application, that's when you will show you have to show your birth certificate, you have to show the police clearance everywhere you have lived since you were 16. You have to show, you have to get the police clearance. So when the fiancé petition is approved, it's if you lived in so many countries, in some countries is not easy or is not quick to get the police clearance documents from, it's better you start gathering those documents in the beginning. By the way, you need to have a passport, from your country. So, apply for your passport before even you start with the I-129 petition, and get your birth certificate in order. Some birth certificates are not, where birth attestation, they're not allowed. So you have to know which birth certificate is allowed. The long form usually that has both your names. Those are the documents you need to really have so that you can be ready to file. But do not apply, do not look for the police clearance until the approval of at least the I-129, which is the fiance visa, because the police clearance documents expire after a while. So, and like I said, if you've been married before, you have to show the completed or final dissolution of your previous marriages. If you have any criminal records, you may want to talk to an attorney to see if they will not disqualify you. But either way, you have to provide those records. It doesn't matter if the crime was committed in any country, you have to provide those. And then after you provide all the documents and you complete the form, and there are fees involved in all these applications. So some embassies, they will ask you to create an online account and pay the fee. And this has happened where, you are so excited and you have to take the medical exam as well. The fiance, you have to go a medical exam. There are doctors who are accredited by the embassy, then that's where you go to take your medical exam. So, and then you have also to pay the fees. Some embassies only allow you to pay the fees online. So you can go to the embassy and pay the application fees there. No, you have to pay them through the online application. So those are the requirements. And then once all has been completed, you go to the interview and you take all those documents, and then, you are approved. So now, then next come so these are the steps I was talking about. So now what happens now? So yes, I was talking about the birth certificate, the passport photos, the passport. Your passport has to be valid for at least 6 months. So valid at least for 6 months. So all those US citizen most recent tax returns, and he or she may be asked to provide an affidavit of support. Or actually, most of the consulates require that. So you also have to have that. So now, so what happens, because that's where I guess I got this, I wanted to do this live because of the 90-day fiance. So what happens after you arrive in the US? So after you get the visa, you are issued a visa valid for between 4 and 6 months. So visa stamp in your passport, you have to live and arrive in the US within the period of the visa approval. And once you set foot in the United States, the 90 days start counting. You must marry within the 90 days. And that's where the drama, the 90-day fiance, begins, like, oh, it's too early to marry somebody, because when you have a relationship, it's online or it's a long distance, it's not the same as being together. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You have to get married within the 90 days. So if you don't marry within the 90 days, then your visa, your entry, it's void. Everything is void. It's as if you entered illegally. So it's called entry without inspection, really. That's what happens, because the fiance visa, it's not like another non-immigrant visa. Even if you came in through the border and they will give you a stamp, you were given I-94 entry stamp, if you do not marry the US citizen, then you will be considered as illegal and unlawful entry, and you will be unlawful presence in the United States, and you will not be eligible to adjust. Some people may say, okay, this person is gonna get me a fiance visa, but I have a boyfriend who's not a citizen, or I have a girlfriend who's not a citizen. So once I get in the US, I'm just gonna go ahead and marry that person. Okay, yeah, you can marry anyone. However, you will not be able to adjust your status. You will not be able to get a green card because your entry will be void and you'll be considered illegal in the United States. So that's something to keep in mind. So so one of, and it's, I have some of the cases that come before me. You'll be surprised how people spend a lot of time, or take years to kind of fix when someone came on a fiance visa. They didn't marry the fiance, US citizen fiance, and now they kind of forgot, and they are marrying someone else, and they want to fix their papers. Yeah, I mean, it may be possible, but it's not gonna, it's gonna take more than just okay, now I came in legally, so why can I just no? If you come on a fiance visa, and you do, because the purpose of the fiance visa is to marry, you have to marry the US citizen. If you do not, then you are illegal. You are unlawful, and you accrue unlawful presence. So, and actually, some issues come. So what if you come, then you marry a US citizen fiance, but then he refuses to petition for you? So that's another, there are ways to fix that. So once you marry a US citizen and the US citizen doesn't petition for you, there are other, if the US citizen becomes abusive or kind of takes you like a hostage, then there are other provisions that protect victims of domestic violence. It's like you can file a VAWA, so that's one avenue. Or sometimes you can marry, and then the US citizen you file for an adjustment of status, because even at the adjustment of status stage, you still need the US citizen to show the income requirement I was saying about. They have to show affidavit of support. They have to file for an affidavit of support. So sometimes it happens where you file for an adjustment of status, because sometimes it takes a while to get approved. And within the time the adjustment of status is pending, then the marriage dissolves, or the issues arise in the marriage, and the US petitioner say, I don't want to petition for you anymore. I don't want to file for an affidavit of support. But you have to understand, once you bring someone here, even if you don't file, or if you withdraw the affidavit of support, it doesn't mean you are not responsible for that person, really. Because in the beginning, before they came to the US, the fiance visa, you had to file for that affidavit of support. So you are still really responsible for that person, responsible if ever the US government wants to, to follow through with the obligations under the affidavit of support. However, the US citizen may not be, the fiance may not be able to adjust. That's when, maybe you can file for a VAWA. If you qualify for a VAWA, you may need to speak to an attorney to see if you qualify. And in some instances, as long as you marry, okay, I married this US citizen. Now, it didn't go well. Even if you fight for the adjustment, he didn't follow through. Now, then later you marry another person, because your life has to go on. You will be surprised that we have cases like that, like those cases. And I personally have a case that's pending. It's been going on for years. Yeah, it's difficult, even if you may be able to prove it. But so just long story short, fiance visa is not a joke. It's not a reality TV story. It's a real visa, and for each visa, for each immigration or immigrant or non-immigrant status, there are requirements, there are obligations, is, what you have benefits to come to the US, and if you don't follow through with the requirements, then there are consequences that may lead to deportation, and for the US citizen also to be responsible for the people you bring into the US financially. So that's basically what I want to talk to you regarding the, yeah, so that's what it says here in my notes, so you can follow along as I talk, right? So yes, the fiance visa cannot be extended, so you have to be married. Like, really, somebody told me, like, what if you scheduled to get married at 8th, 9th day, and then there is a hurricane, for example, because we live in Texas, we have all these weather issues. What if that happens? Then what? In my notes, so you can follow along. What if that happens? Then what? So in my notes, so you can follow along. Yeah, I'll see if there's anybody on Facebook. I have on different platforms. Sorry. Yeah. So my answer is, do not schedule to get married on the 89th day. Schedule to get married on the 30th day, the 31st day. So just do not avoid any unnecessary issues. So the 90 days is not extended, you have to get married, so get married. Okay. Yeah, right. So that's what I was saying, that the fiance visa cannot convert into another status. No, you can only obtain marriage through the marriage after. Yeah, right. So you have to obtain the marriage visa or green card adjustment of status based on the fiance who filed for you. Yeah. All right, so these are the ask questions. Feel free to check and read through this. And if you have any questions, you have how to contact us. Make sure, please, to share. I'm sure you have friends, young people, old people, US citizens, talking to people. This world now we live in has become, it's like a, global. We are all connected everywhere. So I'm sure there are people who may be interested in this type of fiance visa. Feel free to share, always like, and please subscribe so we can be able to reach so many people. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and I thank you all for always following along. So that's all I had to say today. I don't see any questions, but always feel free to text, to chat, to message and comment. All right. So have a great weekend and be blessed. Bye.